joining us to break down some of the information about this release of Edan Alexander and what the next steps might be when it comes to the Gaza Strip is Jonathan Conricus of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Jonathan, thank you for being here. Always great to have you on. What does the release of Edan Alexander mean for the remaining 58 hostages? I mean, we'll start with that.
Yes, shalom, Emily. Always a pleasure to see you and listen to the reports on ILTV. You know, it's a happy moment for the Alexander family, and I think that their immediate comment was that they encourage that all of the other hostages should be released, that nobody should be forgotten. And I think this is a very beautiful and very correct message to have. 58 hostages remain. We assume that 22, 23 are alive, but I cannot really say that it's looking good for the other hostages. I think we're coming close to this fork in the road where the state of Israel has to make a kind of Solomon's choice, modern day Solomon's choice at the national level, whether to agree to external pressure and to Hamas demands and basically make a deal that will end the war and get the hostages back, perhaps all of them, or continue to pursue the war and try to defeat Hamas and also try to get the hostages back, but prioritizing defeating Hamas. And I think that the visit of President Trump is really speeding up events and forcing Israel to make a decision very soon.
Now, of course, one of the complicating factors of ending the war isn't just ending the actual fighting on the ground, but there are also discussion of releasing convicted terrorists, convicted prisoners, in some cases serving life sentences who have already been released. Is this a situation that Israel could be hypothetically prepared militarily to deal with, the release or mass release even of prisoners in exchange for the remaining 58 hostages?
Well, Emily, we've seen that, you know, Israel has paid an exorbitant price to release the 144 hostages that already have been released from Hamas captivity. Hundreds, more than that, thousands even, of Palestinian terrorists from Israeli prisons were released. And we know from information from the IDF and from Shabak, the ISA, Israeli Security Agency, that at least half of them have returned to terror activity. Some of them have already been apprehended again, and quite a few have already been killed on the battlefield after engaging in combat activities against the IDF or against Israeli targets. So I think it's pretty clear where that goes. I think the bigger picture really is for the state of Israel. Are we going to pursue and actually defeat Hamas, or are we going to admit a tie, or dare I say, even a defeat? In my mind, if we do not defeat Hamas, if the October 7 attack against Israel ends while Hamas is still in power in Gaza, you cannot dress that as a victory, especially not after the politically elected leaders in Israel have repeatedly said that this will go on until a complete victory of Hamas. And then the last point, big picture, southern Israel will not be safe, and Israelis will not be safe as long as Hamas exists. And I think we should be frank about it. It's only a matter of time before they will replenish their capabilities. They will end the so-called Hudna, Arabic word for ceasefire, and attack again. This is their nature. That is their ultimate goal. And I don't think that we should be misleading ourselves with any thought that now Hamas will take a different strategic path.
Now, was the fact that this deal was negotiated outside of Israel problematic? I mean, what pressures is Israel facing, or could Israel be facing as a result?
I think actually very problematic, and I think Israel appears, the Israeli Prime Minister, Minister Dermer, they don't appear to be in the driving seat. And that hurts me as an Israeli to see, because, just reading the latest news report that reportedly, and this has been confirmed by the family, if his medical situation allows it, then Edan Alexander is supposed to fly to, of all places, Qatar, and meet President Trump there. Of course, meeting President Trump is a very worthy thing to do, and to thank him for his personal involvement in getting Alexander to freedom. But of all places in the world, Qatar, the same terror-supporting little fiefdom that is hosting Hamas, hosting other terrorists, and spending money and funding terrorists, that is funding Al Jazeera, which is probably the biggest incitement factor and the biggest sponsor of terrorism around the world. That should be the first place where an Israeli goes after almost a year and a half in Hamas captivity. It doesn't make sense, and it doesn't look good at all in terms of how Israel is affecting events with regards to its own future. And if I may, I'll connect it to other events in the region as well, where the US is making decisions that are have a direct influence on Israel's national security, reportedly with very little or any Israeli influence over those decisions, which have straight implications on our national security. Of course, I'm referring to the negotiations with Iran, and I'm referring to the American deal with the Houthis, and reports of direct negotiations between the Americans and Hamas regarding a ceasefire or a hostage deal to end the war in Gaza. These are not good developments. That isn't how allies are supposed to be operating together. I think it's absolutely crucial for both countries, for Israel and the US, even though Israel is the smaller one and US is the superpower. I think it's very important that allies coordinate and that there is an appearance of coordination between two partners. Otherwise, that's not a good sign for the future. Our enemies will see that, so will our allies, and by the way, so will other future potential American allies see that and understand that, well, when push comes to shove and when there's money time, the US goes ahead and does deals on its own without referring to the interests of its partner. So I'm concerned. I still have faith in the American administration, in President Trump, and in his team. But the recent developments are not positive. Of course, I'm happy that an Israeli has been brought home from captivity. That's a tremendous achievement. But big picture strategically, this isn't how we're supposed to be looking.
All right. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time, but I want to thank you for your insights today, Jonathan Conricus.
Thank you, Emily.